Hi there, good morning. This is Karen Cochrane Hall from Tarabiz, Condado and clientmarketingsolutions.com. I'm sitting in front of my computer and just reading through an email I've just sent off to a prospective client who is chatting with me via email about coming over her next trip. She's got property here in Tenerife in Spain. And she's just talking to me, asking me prices about what, and the process about drawing up a Spanish will for her. And I've given her all the information. And the most important thing, and this pulled at my heartstrings as a mother, that it is a real, true act of love to actually, and a responsibility to actually sit down and do and make the effort of making a Spanish will. Why? Because I'm talking about a lot of British or European people that have properties here in Spain and they don't make a will. What happens when you die intestate? I hate that word. It sounds really rude. It's a horrible process. In Spain, you have 6 months to accept the inheritance, and it's very, very important. The paperwork can be a little bit long drawn out and a little bit complicated. And if you haven't got a Spanish will, it will obviously make it much more difficult for your heirs. And I know that this is a very sad subject, but it's a very real subject. It's something that death is part of life. It's an inevitable part of life for all of us. And I know it brings us maybe closer to our own mortality, but it also brings us closer to the love that we feel and the responsibility that we feel for our loved ones, because as I explained to this lady, she has a need, a responsibility to get her will. And she said that on her next trip, she's only over for a few days and she's bringing her 11-year-old daughter, who's the real reason of actually doing this will. And she mentioned to me the fact that she didn't really want to drag the child around into notaries, etc., that the child wouldn't appreciate it. And I said, well, listen, I don't think what your child would not appreciate is if something happens to you and your husband and she's not able, or the person that is handling her affairs, if you die, if you pass away, that your child will not appreciate the lack of responsibility of having to do all of the extra paperwork. Because even if you have a UK or a European will, you have to go through probate, and that can be get it translated, etc., etc. It can be a long, tedious, messy, complicated process in a situation and a time when, let's be honest, your child has just lost their parent, and it's not good at all. So I know that this is not my typical chatty. I hope it's an informative Facebook Live for you all, but it's not a typical chatty, positive Karen this morning, because I have to call you out here. If you haven't got a Spanish will and you've got property and investments in Spain, and you want to be a responsible parent or a responsible spouse or partner, you need to get a Spanish will sorted out. And as I said to this lady, it brought up the fact that two things. It brought up the fact that I had a client several years ago who went through the same thing. I did a lot of work for her. I did a lot of conveyancing, a lot of her tax as a non-resident owner. And I'd been working for her for years, and she was drawing. She just didn't want to get round to doing, for whatever reason, drawing up a Spanish will. She dragged her feet on it, and unfortunately she passed, and her 13-year-old went through hell, and the ex-husband was very responsible and very helpful, but at the end of the day, it would have avoided an awful lot of extra expense at a time when the child was obviously missing her mother, an orphan of a mother, and you don't need your children to go through this. It also made me smile a little bit because it brought back to my days of being in Northern Ireland that my great aunt refused to do her will, and it took an awful lot of persuasion on behalf of her solicitor in Northern Ireland to actually see that she had to get the will drawn up. She had a lot of property, a lot of land and bank interests, and she needed to draw up a will. And that was the responsible thing. But she had in her mind, I'm not drawing up a will because it's like signing my own death sentence. So I get this. I've been doing these wills and accepting inheritances and helping people with their wills and inheritance for over 25 years now here in Tenerife. So I know I empathize with you when you go through it. It's not easy to sit down and see your own mortality, but it is a responsible act of love. So I hope that you get this, that you all need a Spanish will if you've property or business interest or investments in Spain. It's not sufficient to just leave it and put it off and put it off, because none of us have a crystal ball. None of us know how long we're going to be here. And we have, a responsibility of love, an act of loving responsibility to our loved ones to draw up that will. So, folks, again, if you need my help, you can contact me at Tarabiz Condado, either via Facebook, a PM, or give me a call on my mobile or on my emails. So that's on the Facebook page as well. So I hope you have a blessed day. God bless. And it is an inevitable part of life. We have to drop those wills. So take care, and I'll speak very soon. God bless. Bye.